Hello and welcome to Newsform. I'm your host, Chris with the CHRILLCAST, and today we're going to be talking about an important topic, so make sure you guys pay attention as we go through it. So, anyways, for those of you that have been paying attention to the channel, this should be really familiar for all of you, so here we go. All right. The latest community poll. Let's see here. It's time for the polls to come back. What do you all want to hear about on the next Newsform segments? So here we go. Number one, the Wii U and 3DS eShop. Why aren't people angry? So I'm going to go through this because I think it's a little interesting. I'm not really sure why people don't find this appalling that Nintendo gets away with it and does these kinds of things all the time. I mean, look at the backlash that Sony had when they were talking about shutting down the PS3 and the PS Vita. Both viable platforms, both platforms with games that cannot be played on the PS4 and the PS5, respectively. But for some reason, Nintendo is getting a pass, and I don't hear a lot of people talking about this. And honestly, it makes me even more angry because at least with PlayStation, you have some opportunities to, get some of those older games. With the Nintendo, it's like there's no real official way unless you want to go back and buy the old copies of like Super Metroid, the old Mario games, etc., etc., etc. Anyways, so make sure you guys like this video, comment down below, and subscribe if you like what we have to say. Here we go. The Nintendo and Wii U, Nintendo 3DS and Wii U eShop discontinuation is happening. I want to make one minor correction here that I did not clarify in the last video. It sounds like updates and patches for games will still be available even when the eShop shuts down. So technically speaking, you will still get the ability to update your games if you buy new ones after the March 2023 date, it sounds like. Can't guarantee it, but that's what it sounds like Nintendo is trying to say. So what are we talking about today? Well, it's pretty simple, okay? You got two very different strategies by Nintendo. If I can get this to look good. Anyways, you got the Nintendo Switch Online service, and you've got in this bottom here the Wii U. Okay, so on my Wii U, which it's kind of hard to see. I wonder if I can cycle through this light and make it easier to see here. See if that's better. There you go. You can kind of see it now. So with my Wii U, I have a whole bunch of old games. Metroid, Super Metroid. This ain't gonna work very well. But yeah, a bunch of them. I paid for all of these. Official releases on my Wii U. I've got Metroid, Metroid Zero Mission, Super Metroid, Metroid Fusion, Metroid Prime Hunters. For Fire Emblem, I've got Fire Emblem GBA. I'm going to go back to this other light. It looks weird. I've got Fire Emblem Sacred Stones. I got Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon. I've got Donkey Kong 64, which is not even available on the Switch. Paper Mario. And then, of course, Brain Age, because anybody that knows why you have Brain Age knows why you have Brain Age. Anyways, haven't used it yet, but I have it. Whereas with Nintendo Switch, you got these all-in-one standalone apps, including the N64, the Super Nintendo, the original Nintendo, and then the Genesis, because, why not? Why not have your main competitor from years back on there? But that's what you've got on the Switch. Now, the main difference is between the Wii U and the Switch is that this is a paid service, Nintendo Switch Online. $50 a year, you get all access to all four platforms. For $20 a year, you get access to the Super Nintendo and the Nintendo NES, the NES system. On my Wii U, you pay a la carte, pay per game. You buy each game on the shop, download it to your console, and you keep it. Okay, with the service on the Switch, well, I mean, at some point the Switch is going to get phased out, and then what happens to the games? Nintendo's never been clear on this, but they have been clear about one thing. You stop paying for the service, you stop playing the games. I had my subscription roll out last year in like March or something because I was too busy to use it anyways. And that's when I realized these apps on the Switch do not work if you're not paying for it. So what happens when in 10 years time after the Switches come out, the Nintendo executives decide, time to be done with this, and they shut down the Switch? Well, Doesn't matter how many of these apps you have, they're done. They're gonna be going away. Like, what's gonna happen? They're done. They're gone. The Nintendo Switch Online service will move to whatever next platform Nintendo's using, and you will lose access to your, your games. Now, if you paid $50 a year for 10 years, that's $500 that you spent on games that you don't own. Think about that. If you did 10 years at $50 a year, that's $500 on games. Even if you did $20 a year for 10 years, that's $200 on Super Nintendo and NES games. You could go buy the couple that you want to play for that amount of money, and you don't own them, and you won't get to keep them. So, I mean, just keep that in mind. Whereas on the Wii U, I've paid, let's see here, 4, 5, 12, 20, 27. It's like, I don't know, like, it's around $70 for all the games I own. Probably about $70-ish, we'll just say. And that's over the course of the entire time the Wii U's been around, I've spent $70. If I were to spend that $20 a year for 10 years, $200. In 10 years of the Wii U, $70 for the games I specifically want. And it's not an incurred consistent expense. It's, okay, I've decided I want these games, I go buy them, and I'm done. It's all over with. And I think that's the biggest issue here. Nintendo has not been clear what will happen when the Switch has a successor in the future. Will this service continue to function past the service life of the Switch? Will you be able to continue to play these games on the service if you don't get the next Switch? What are they going to do? I don't know, and neither do you. Unless you work at Nintendo or have an uncle that works at Nintendo. So in the meantime, as of right now, I mean, people are like, oh, whatever, it's the Wii U, nobody bought that. It's like, yeah, but guess what? Some people did. Around like 14 million people did. And I'd guess that probably between 50 to 75% of those owners still have their Wii U. If they're anything like me, they're still playing it. I still play mine. And that's alarming that systems like the PS Vita and the PS3, we had enough outcry. People, pushed back, and Sony's like, okay, fine. And they kept those systems going. You can still make purchases. You just can't add funds, just like the Wii U right now. You can't add funds via credit card directly. You have to buy a Nintendo rewards card, redeem it, then you can use the funds on your Wii U and your 3DS. Whereas the Vita and the PS3 are the same. But how are we not upset with Nintendo for the Wii U and the 3DS, which is arguably the same amount of sales, the same kind of situation that we were in last year with the Vita, and there's no outcry that we need to stop this? I just don't understand what the mindset is with all of you gamers out there. Why we aren't making a big deal out of this? Is this just because we've given up because Nintendo just is Nintendo and they're going to do whatever they do and we basically have no control? Didn't stop us with Sony, and they've never been responsive either. So I don't know. I'm just frustrated. It doesn't make sense to me. I think if we gave enough pushback to Nintendo, they'd at least consider extending that date out to maybe 2024. But I don't know. That's where we're at. So what do you guys think down below? Is the Wii U and 3DS shutting down a travesty? Is it a problem? Or are you okay with it? All right. I'll see y'all on the next one. Bye, guys.